Hello everybody and welcome to the newest episode of The Bearded Gamer Show. As always, I am your host, The Bearded Gamer, Chris Arnone. Alright, straight into good news, bad news. First up, we got some good news. Do you like LittleBigPlanet? Do you like kart racing? Did you somehow think that Mod Nation Racers wasn't already that or similar enough? Well, anyway, there is indeed been confirmed a LittleBigPlanet kart racing game is coming to the PlayStation 3. I know it's, again, I come back to this like, okay, Mod Nation Racers is kind of that whole idea, the whole play, create, share, cutesy little thing. Anyway, but this will actually be, Sackboy, and who knows how deep it will go. But anyway, yes, it is being in development right now. This was confirmed from a tweet from Future Shop. They also said in a subsequent tweet that there is in fact a racing wheel, a Sony Move compatible racing wheel that is in development that will be coming out with this new kart racing game. So pretty cool if you're a Play, Create, Share LittleBigPlanet fan. All right, some bad news. Now you remember a while back I was talking to you about Final Fantasy X, how they were going to be putting out an HD version on the PS3. And that's pretty cool. I really enjoyed that, played it back in college. It was a great game. Well, it's now been confirmed it will not be a remake, but just a remaster. So it's pretty much going to be the exact same game, just with HD, re-rendered graphics, more likely than not. So, any hopes of them maybe taking the white engine that they used to build Final Fantasy 13 and redoing 10 with a new engine, nah, don't get your hopes up. That's not how this is going to work. They're just going to, take the old game exactly as it was and just make it a little prettier. Maybe a few other features, but generally this is a remaster, not a remake. So, oh well. All right, some more good news. Now, I'm sure most of you by now have undergone the newest Sony PS3 firmware update to 4.1, but there's a little feature in there you might not have been aware of. That is Dropbox support. Now, there's no app, there's no formal app or anything for that, but if you go to Dropbox.com, their website, through this new upgraded browser, you can indeed download files from the site. You can't upload yet. But I'm a big user of Dropbox. I love the program. It's just great for sort of sharing files between multiple machines. Even use it with my iPhone. It's just really, really handy. And now it will indeed work on the PS3. Now, like I said, you can't upload to it, but it's real simple. If for some reason maybe you can't get the home network to work right, or maybe a friend has a movie or some music that he wants to share with you via Dropbox, you can just jump on your PS3 and download it straight from the site, which I think is pretty cool. Big fan, PS3 and Dropbox, now they're together. That's just brilliant. All right, some more bad news. Now, you remember that whole lukewarm UMD passport thing that I talked about that Japan was getting that allowed for a fee they could actually take their UMDs and then download the digital version of that game for their PlayStation Vita. Well, the bad news is we in the North Americas will not get it. Pretty much period. And they're even being vague about whether Europe is going to get this program. And I just keep wondering why they keep doing this kind of stuff with the Vita. You want to push this out and get it to sell as much as possible, and yet you keep taking away features and taking away things that would make people really, really want to upgrade from their PSP to their Vita. Because now, no UMD passport program, it's going to be a lot harder for someone with a big UMD library of games to want to go ahead and make that shift and make that upgrade. Now, who knows what the reasoning behind this is? Maybe there's a piracy issue or something. I'm not really sure, but we're not going to be seeing that passport program here. All right, some good news. Now, some of you are aware that the Skyrim Creation Kit, or the workshop, finally did launch just a few days ago, and it included just tons and tons of mods, more being added all the time. Last I checked, there's about 1,500 mods currently in that database. Really smooth system. I enjoy it. I like that you subscribe to a mod, and then every time you go to launch Skyrim, it will indeed check to see if there are updates and install updates for that mod. So I think that's a really neat system. A little easier to work with than Skyrim Nexus, but not a lot. But Skyrim Nexus still has a lot more stuff on it. But I'm sure the mod community will catch up in the workshop. Well, what I was really getting at here is Valve actually released a mod that's the robotic space robot core from Portal 2, voiced by Nolan North, in fact. And I just think it's brilliant that this big, huge, massive game developer, game publisher that owns Steam would actually create a mod for another game. I know it's through Steam, but still, it's just pretty amazing. And I really love their little commentary on it. They said, well, since pretty much every other game in 2011 had Nolan North in it, except for Skyrim, we thought we'd, kind of add Nolan North to it so it can go in your game collection in the Nolan North section, which is pretty much where all of your other games go anyway, right? So, love the guys from Valve. They're always hilarious, and they do great stuff like this. Final piece of news, some good news. If you're a fan of David Scott Jaffe, now this is the mastermind behind the God of War series, original game at least, and Twisted Metal, currently working on Twisted Metal with Eat, Sleep, Play. Well, he has announced that he is in fact leaving Eat, Sleep, Play to go off to another company that will focus on core games. Now, fear not, he is still fully dedicated to the current Twisted Metal project, even though by now I'm sure it's coming out on Valentine's Day. I'm sure the game has gone gold. It's pretty much done anyway. But he is still committed to that project. But he indeed will be moving on to something that's going to just focus on core games. And as a fan of core games and a fan of David Jaffe, I can't really be more excited for that whole prospect. So, all right, enough for the news. Software Soundoff time. I know every week you got to be wondering, what were the biggest selling games in the world a couple weeks ago? Right, okay. So, week ending January 28th. Number one biggest seller, Resident Evil Revelations. This is for the Nintendo 3DS. Sold 217,000 units. Number two, Armored Core 5 for the PlayStation 3. Sold 165,000 units. Of course, both of those were just Japan releases right now. Number three, Just Dance 3 for the Wii, of course. Sold another 127,000 units. Now, this is crazy. The total sold for Just Dance 3 on the Wii alone is over 7 million units now. It's just crazy. All right, number four, Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS. Sold another 108,000 units. Number five, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, of course, for the 360. Sold another 99,000 units. Number six, Zumba Fitness for the Wii. Sold another 98,000 units. Well, actually just above. I round to the nearest thousandth. Why? Because number seven is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, again, the PlayStation 3 version. I also sold 98,000 units. It's actually just shy, so one up, one down. Number eight, Super Mario 3D Land, again for the 3DS. That's 4 titles for the 3DS. Yeah, I think that console's doing pretty good now. Sold 89,000 units. Number 9, Kinect Adventures, also means number of Kinects sold. 87,000 units. And finally, number 10, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The 360 version finally sold another 69,000 units. So, it is kind of the slow time of year, but, with February, it'll start to pick up a little bit, and especially in March, we sort of get into that nice spring release window where we're going to see a fair number of games until we hit that summer slump. So expect some of these names to start going up here within the next few weeks. All right, enough with Software Soundoff. Controller Confessional. Now, there have been rumors swirling around about the Xbox whatever the next Xbox is. 720 is sort of the common term we're using for it. So the Xbox 720. One of the big ones is that it will have the ability to block used games, or at least maybe that's something Microsoft would like to have happen. Now, before I get off into a rant that is coming about this whole thing, James Durall of Volition Inc., now these are the devs behind Saints Row the Third and the Red Faction series, decided he was going to comment on this, that he is hugely, hugely in favor of this entire idea, which of course got some backlash from a lot of people. But first off, I want to come out and he makes some good points, though. While I generally disagree with the whole idea of blocking used games, he does at least suggest that he is watching out a little bit for the consumer, because he talks about how he likes the rental market and he doesn't want to see that go away. And also, when it comes to friends, borrowing games from your friends, he doesn't want to get rid of that whole dynamic. So he suggests things like Amazon's lending program with their Kindle, to where if you have a book and you want to loan it to a friend on your Kindle, you essentially are turning over rights to that book temporarily to your friend's account, and during that time you can't read it yourself. So something like that, using gamer tags or PlayStation Network or whatever, you would transfer rights to the game to a friend for a limited amount of time. something like that. So he at least is thinking of other ways. He's not just thinking of his bottom line and the bottom dollar. But, okay, rant time, right? You know it's coming. All right, Volition, if you're afraid of used games, make better games. And this goes to anyone. I've said this before, but it's just ridiculous. You get online passes, all of this huge fight, this external, outside of the game fight against used games. And it all comes down to, if you make a better game, a game that people don't want to get rid of, a game with better intrinsic value, replay value, hundreds of hours of playtime, they aren't going to go and sell it. They're not going to put it on eBay. They're not going to trade it in at Game or GameStop. They're going to keep it. I mean, honestly, you're not going to find that many used copies of Skyrim right now because the game is huge. I've put in like 76 hours. I've beaten the main storylines now, but I'm still only like level 45 out of a cap of 80. There is still so much to do in that game. Why would I want to get rid of it? The same goes for, like, you know, Modern Warfare, or a lot of, you know, first-person shooter titles with a really good online. If you build that online well enough, people don't want to get rid of it. They want to keep playing it and keep playing it and keep playing it. And this is how you beat the secondary market. You make games that have better value. Period. There's no other way around it. I mean, honestly, I gotta wonder, with something like, let's say, for instance, Arkham City, a game that had no reason to have an online pass. They just stuck it in there to say, hey, you can't get some of the single-player content that obviously should have been in the game to begin with, unless you bought it brand new or you go and pay an extra $10, because there is no online. There's just leaderboards. But still, we had this online pass. And, you know, there were people, I remember when this was announced, I wrote up this news story, people that said, I guess I'm just not going to buy this game now. They were so, you know, ethically opposed to this whole idea. So it makes me wonder, how many sales, brand new sales, did you gain because people want a Catwoman, versus how many did you lose because you went such a shady route and threw an online pass on a game that had no online and took out some single-player content? That's just crap, okay? You are driving away the customers. And I understand you've got to make your money too, but it's really hard when you do predatory things like that in a recession, when we're all feeling the strain on our wallets, and that sucks. You know, here's my bottom line, all right? Microsoft, you want to block used games on your console. Hey, Sony, here's an idea. This is how you win the next console war. Don't do that. Let Microsoft corner the market on blocking used games. You guys leave it open and watch Microsoft drown under that PR nightmare. Okay? That's it. That's all for the Controller Confessional, my soapbox, and this video. We'll see you next time.